Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. Today, we're going to talk about completely embracing that journey. And what do I mean when I say embracing that journey? Obviously, we talk about investment and business success, and really, there's a big journey that goes with that. And you could really embrace that, and it could be quite a really good time to learn, to adapt, and really to kind of flourish into an entrepreneur and have a really successful investment business. So we're going to explore that today, Jim, and really look at the key factors of that, mindset, your resilience, the real strategies that help you grow and move forward. And not just financially. And we always push that, because I think when people see the Wealth Creation Show and things, they just immediately think we're going to talk about money. And it's not. It's about your personal and your professional development and how they're all intertwined with your financial success as well. And I'm sure you obviously agree to that testament, Jim.
I think it's important to actually define what is an entrepreneur. It's like amazing. I mean, if people would put on their CVs and everything, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, so what are you doing? I'm just doing property. Well, that's not exactly entrepreneur. Entrepreneur
It's a title that's thrown about quite a lot and never really defined.
Here's my definition. Entrepreneur is somebody that takes huge risks in areas that maybe need trailblazing done, and they're prepared to take that risk and prepared to put their money and their resources and their time behind it. That's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I don't think an entrepreneur is like somebody that's like, what would we say, diversifying their income. Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in gold. I'm in this, and I'm in that, and I'm in crypto, and I'm like, yeah, no, these are all ready-made sort of areas already there. I kind of think an entrepreneur is a trailblazer in an industry. Somebody actually takes an industry, shakes it up, and actually comes up with a proposition that no one else has done before. And then, a trailblazer, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you see the one.
Hear what everybody else's thoughts on what they think an entrepreneur is. Some of the people watching this or listening into this might actually think they're an entrepreneur, and they maybe don't fall into the definition of what I said. But remember, it's only my opinion.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah, this is all very much our opinion and based on experience and things as well. But you say the word risk, Jim, and I think as soon as people hear the word taking a risk or the word risk itself, they take a step back and think, oh, kind of risk adverse. But then you need to take risks, but not just haphazardly. That's really like calculated and thought about risks. Looking at the end result and working from the end result backwards type thing.
Calculated risks. So calculated risks is really playing the downside. What is the worst case scenario that could happen? What is the probability of that happening? And then assessing there if it's worth going for it. I mean, if you got a 10% probability of the worst case scenario happening, and you got 90% actually being a successful, you kind of think you're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'm probably 100% success. It's like, is there a downside to what I'm doing? Possibly not. I'm maybe naive enough to say I actually can't see a downside to what I do. Because I've calculated out beforehand, so I know the numbers. So if the numbers fall into place like I expect, then the results what I would expect, I suppose. And everybody goes, well, you can't predict that. Well, I know you can't, because you have what we call as humans, people. Unfortunately, and I do say unfortunately, because they put a spanner in the works because they don't go according to your plan. It's just human nature, isn't it? You think, yeah, if I could do that and I could do this and it could work like this and it could work like that, it's like, yeah, job done, tick. But then somebody else gets involved in that and it doesn't happen like it should happen. And then you've got to think to yourself, okay, how do I adapt and change for that? It's like, I've said this loads of times before and I'll say it again. The business you're starting out with will never be the same business you've got in 5 years' time. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
And changes, yeah.
Yeah, it'll never be the same. And it'll never be the same as what you expect it to be. And it's purely for the fact that market forces and people, affect that, because that is ultimately your customer. We'll live in a consumerist society.
Yeah, definitely, very much so.
Yeah.
And I would
And
be
after my Glastonbury escapades and listening to not to climate change but to sustainability, it's quite frightening to think it's. But I've always said at some point in time we're going to consume everything on the planet to the point that we'll be sitting on a dust heap. They will probably see our extinction.
I do agree that we'll probably be the demise of ourselves eventually.
Why is no one doing something about it though? That's what I can't understand. And you say you've
Ignorance,
got
ignorance is bliss.
I think it is. You're probably right. I think it's because the individual person thinks they can't make a change. However, look at CFCs and aerosols. That problem was sorted overnight for the ozone.
Yeah.
Everybody says we've got to change. CFCs are banned completely out of aerosols. Everybody in the world said that. But all of a sudden, CFCs are no longer in aerosols.
And use,
so it happens. So if you can do that, we have just proved how resilient us as human beings are. It's just that the people that are holding on to the reins are the people that are making so much money with what's going on right now that they don't want it to change, because that means it affects their market and their profit effectively.
Yeah, it comes down to money and profit margins and things for these big companies. I really
But
thought
this is the journey, isn't it?
Yeah,
this is the journey, because the change, the adaptation over time, you have to make, and to jump from one field to the other. And I do say field because when it comes to farmers, it's like livestock. Livestock will be a thing of the past in 50 years' time. We will have lab-grown meat. We will have soya-produced substitutes. We will have lots of plant-based food. Because we won't be able to feed everybody with the current situation that what we have just now. So that will fundamentally have to change. And if anybody's wanting to invest in something, that's the sort of industries you should be investing in. The new technologies in terms of food production, in terms of sustainability. That's where you should be thinking about. But again, these are high risk, because like crypto, every man and their dog does crypto, but all these like different coins and everything, a lot of them have gone by the wayside. A lot of these organizations that kept crypto and banked crypto for people and looked after it for them, they're all gone by the wayside as well. So you've got 100 that started and you've only got probably one left. It actually has sort of come forward as the winner. So everybody's lost money on the 99, and there's the people that have obviously won so far are the person left with the one that's left out of the 99 casualties. It went before them.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing. That's see, when we talk about the journey and we talk about what that entails, it's you don't know where it's going to lead you, but you hope it's going to lead you in the right direction. And these are all the things that you've got written down here. It's definitely the mindset shift. You have to do that. You have to adapt and change in any industry. It's okay if you're a business out there and you're like, oh, we have to grow. So who told you have to grow? Who told you? You don't really need to grow. And it's the mentality we have, and it's like you either grow or you die. You grow, you die. You grow, you die. If you stay stagnant, you're not relevant. Well, you can stay stagnant, but you can change within that. You can change. You can adapt. You can inspire in your business model in terms of what you're doing, and you still continue to have the same sales, and you still continue to have probably even a better margin from these sales because you're adapting and changing over the period of time. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of businesses that have actually never really grown with huge turnovers, but they've actually stayed extremely profitable and they've been here for years and years and years. Five Properties, one of them, 1971. 1971 started. I wasn't there at that time. 1971 when it started. So when you think about it, 2020, that's 50. That's about coming up for 55 years.
55, yeah, next year.
So 35 years before, I wasn't involved in it. Only the last 20 years. It's like, oh, well, actually not even the last 20 years when you think about it, because I had Century 21. for a period of time. So 2012, so 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's only 13 years we've had this. So we've come a long way in 13 years, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's that, and these are the mindset set shifts you've got to think about, because we've come a long way in 13 years, and yet I think it's been a lifetime.
Yeah, because it's part of us. Do you know what it's like? We do it at the end, yeah.
And so when you look back to where it's like, wait a minute, you've just created something from effectively nothing. Because when I took it over, it only had 2 properties, and they were owned by the existing owner.
Yeah.
One was a timeshare he was selling, and one was his place in Spain or something like that he was trying to sell. And nothing else existed. There was no real mortgage business, just 2 properties in the window. And I took over, rebranded it, and put our model on it, and built it up from there. So the last 13 years has been a labor of love to get it to this point. And now it's like, okay, and that's why it's like, we're not going to really build any bigger in Fife, I don't think. We might in the west area of Fife, because we don't really do much in there. But no, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Dundee and Perth, opportunities there. So that's the sort of thing.
I think, in my opinion, when it comes to business, of course, like you say, the growth is sometimes it's part of the natural progression, but predominantly for me, it's you know, it's the being present and the willingness to embrace the change and adapt to the times. And look how we changed with the whole lockdown and that whole situation, when some other agents were just batten down the hatches and were closed for the best part of a year.
Well, we just looked at it as a holiday, didn't it?
Yes,
like a paid holiday
instead of that opportunity. Yeah,
paid holiday. It's like, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm gonna do something. I want to do something. I can't sit. I just want to be inspired. So it was an opportunity, and the sun, the moon, the stars all aligned at once when that happened, and it was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to work. After 2 days of being furloughed.
I mean, you and I were. I mean, yeah, I wasn't furloughed at all. Was it 2 days or something? And you were like, no,
2 days. No, I didn't bother furloughing
and we just worked right through.
There's no point.
Yeah,
it's like I'll never last.
But yeah,
so I had to keep doing something.
Yeah, it's all about having that right mindset and being able to think, right, this is the chance for an opportunity. This is the chance for us to change and adapt. And that's a really important part of having your successful and success in your business, whatever it may be. Do you know, if it's property investment, look at all the changes in property investment and the need for, I was talking about this on a show the other week there, because I looked at the 5 years since pre-COVID and lockdown and everything up to just now, and how things have changed so much, and the need for having somebody that's really educated within your portfolio, if you've got a buy-to-let portfolio, because of all the legislation. And do you know, if you're self-managed, it's a complete not a 9 to 5 job. It's like 24-hour job.
24 hours.
So you need an agent to do that for you now, ideally. And that's what the progression of that, like being able to let go of your self-managed portfolio and having somebody else deal with it. A lot of people.
I think you'll see the demise of. I think you'll see the demise of the self-managed people, unless they've got a big portfolio and they're building big portfolios. I think the single unit landlords, the 2-unit landlords, will actually end up getting letting agents to do it, or they'll just sell up, because it's. I've just done the consultation last week for the housing bill, the rent controls.
Yep.
And it's clear by what they're saying and the questions they're asking, rent controls is going to exempt everybody except the single unit and 2-unit landlords, and they're all going to be nailed to the wall.
The private sector, yeah.
And it's clear as well that they're talking about bringing the EPCs back on, and that it's clear as well that they're thinking about wanting to put more bureaucracy. If you're going to put the rent up, if you're going to put it beyond, there's thinking about, you've got to issue paperwork to your tenant, you've got to issue paperwork to another body, you've got to issue paperwork to someone else. It's like, God almighty. If you're a single unit landlord or 2-unit landlord, you're like, I do not want to do this anymore. It's like, I am pushing paper all the time to do things. And then I'm having to argue with, a rent assessor who thinks I've no spent enough on my property to justify the more than the more than cap +1 or whatever it was, rent control that's been put in place in my area to justify it. It's like they'll just I've had enough. But you don't need to say you've had
Yeah,
enough.
well,
You just get a letting agent to do it. So the key here is to make sure you get, when you're a single unit and a 2-unit landlord, and that's all you've got, what you want to do is make it as profitable, so you can actually get someone else to manage it for you, to make it extremely profitable. So a good margin after the mortgage paid, cover the overheads and cover a letting agent to do it for you as well. That's the way forward for the single unit and the 2-unit landlords. The bigger landlords, yeah, they'll self-manage. They're all right. They can justify it, and that's okay. And some will actually go on to have small letting agencies and stuff like that. But again, they'll get to the point as well, if they don't grow anymore, where letting agencies will consolidate, because of all the legislation driven on letting agents as well. So there'll be consolidation in that area as well with letting agents. So, and these will all acquire adaptability. They'll all acquire, and you can see you've got it written down here about long-term vision. See how I could think and see where that's going, just by the questions that are getting asked now in the housing rent controls legislation. And I have fed back. It's like, sorry, why would build to rent be exempt if their starting point is £1,600 a month for a studio flat? They're the highest rents ever. Why are they getting exempt?
That's crazy. I know that's.
But that's what they're proposing. It's like, should we do that? No, you shouldn't. You should be anybody. And my question, and just so everybody understands this, my response is, anybody that charges local housing allowance or less as their rent in any area across Scotland for what they've got should be exempt, because local housing allowance is based on 30% of the market rent. They're not even mid-market rent, like they're saying. Oh, mid-market rent will get exempt. What's mid-market rent? Oh, it's everybody. It's social. All right, so I'm less than mid-market rents. So I'm not getting exempt because I'm a private landlord. That's right. It's like, what? I'm less than them. It's like, how am I not getting exempt then?
Because at that puts mid-market rents anywhere for like 600 to 1,000.
It's a farce. It's a farce. Mid-market rent could then be said, I tell you what, if the average in the area is 1,200, mid-market rent, the mid-market rent point is 600. So they've got, local housing, I'm charging less. On average. So why am I? Yeah, it's crazy. So these are all the things that, and so this is why we talk about embracing the journey. I'm not really particularly bothered. I was talking to Schroders, actually, the investment house. So what one of the investment managers last week, actually, and they were talking about, oh, you're a bit, you've got all your eggs in one basket, being in real estate and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not bored. It's like, I don't use the money for anything anyway. Just keep putting it back in. I don't spend it. I don't need it. I don't use it for anything other than just reinvesting in the stock all the time and building wealth. All my income comes from somewhere else. So it doesn't affect me if real estate bombs or anything happens to the portfolio. It's like, that'll not affect me at all.
But that comes back to your risk analysis and everything that you do. I mean, you said there, and I would confidently agree with you that your success rate in what you do, because you've learned so much over the years and you've tailored your risk analysis and everything that you do to kind of eliminate it completely. Whether that be property investment, whether it's other ventures that you always look at worst case scenario. What if this happens? What if this happens? Will I break even? Will I be able to sustain that?
It's my spending is significantly less than my earning. So, and that's it. My spending is significantly less than my earning. And if you can do that and you can build to that level, you'll never need to bother about anything ever again financially.
Which some people may think that would be quite difficult. But then that's something where you need to sort it up here, because it's actually really easy if you think about it quite methodically. But people find it difficult to do that, and that's
Let me give you the definition of rich.
Okay.
The definition of rich and wealthy is if having more money won't change your lifestyle at all, you're truly rich.
So if you were to live the same, whether you had money or not.
Well, if it wouldn't change it. If you're saying it differently, but
Right,
this is
sorry.
exact. If having more money wouldn't change anything for you, you are truly rich or wealthy.
Okay.
You don't need to do anything else. You don't need an abundance of money then. So why are you doing what you're doing? What is the point?
Then comes those questions that some might find difficult to answer.
Yeah, you're basically running yourself on the ground, knocking down walls, putting investments in, and doing deals for absolutely nothing.
Burning yourself out for
For nothing, because you don't need the money. So why are you doing it then?
Yeah.
And there deep down has to be a why there, because you wouldn't be on the journey, would you?
Mm-hmm. There has to be a
Why would
reason.
you be doing it? Oh, it's like, why are you doing it then?
Keep myself busy.
Just to keep busy. It's like I could think of better things to keep busy,
Yeah.
like lying on a beach and swimming and diving and
Traveling.
whatever, traveling the world. That'll keep me busy.
Yeah, and it's surprising because there'll be a lot of people out there that are doing things just for the sake of keeping busy because they don't know what else to do with their time, maybe. Which is
I'm watching a Diary of a CEO, and it's Stephen Bartlett, obviously, and Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. Now Kevin is he's called Mr. Wonderful, aka Mr. Wonderful. I think it's self-proclaimed title, but now everybody knows him as that. So it's interesting to see that he talks about this, and he talks about people are entrepreneurs. It's like you're not an entrepreneur if you're doing quick wins. Quick wins are, and he actually says it. Quick wins are stupidity. It makes no sense. Quick wins are just just deals. Quick wins here and here and here, and it's like he says it's not. This is the long game. This is building true wealth. This is the long game in terms of what you're doing. Quick wins usually find the long game produces better returns than the quick wins game.
Yeah, and that kind of correlates with I put in the notes there about building things brick by brick. And a lot of people you see nowadays, especially young, enthusiastic people coming into the sector for investment and property investment, they just want things to happen so quickly rather than taking that time to, build up rapport with, if you're like a letting agent with me, with clients individually, or if you're an investor in yourself, like your contractors individually, and building that group of people that's going to help you forward, and your investments, one investment at a time, and not trying to run and do like lots of deals and them all mounting on top of each other without thinking about your numbers properly, and just everything gets away from you. That's when everything will just implode.
Yeah, ultimately, I would say, that's kind of what it is. But what I would say as well is it is about long term, and it is about working towards. Now, the classic example is if you're 25 right now, you should be investing right now, because by the time you hit 65, you invest. I think it's something like 28 quid a week. If you invest 28 quid a week or something like that, and it compounds 10%, it comes to something like 1.6 million in 40 years' time. 28 quid a week. It's like, that's no much. That's like people's coffee every day.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's a crazy concept, but a lot of people just don't believe it. They don't actually think they're destined for that type of money or that type of wealth. And so therefore they don't actually believe they don't believe what people say. So therefore they don't do it because they don't believe it. And it's like, no, if you work it on a spreadsheet, it'll probably work out like that. And they don't get it. And that's about building the brick by brick scenario and just laying the foundations first. And once you get the foundations right, I'm not saying stop and get everything perfect before you start, because the key here is to jump out the window and learn to fly on the way down.
I'm laughing because I think that someone that could be quite too much of a perfectionist. I mean, a lot of us do it.
It's
I'm,
like,
I'm,
oh
I'm
my
guilty
God.
for that.
To
I'm
the
guilty for that.
perfectionist that you'll never ever do anything because you have to have everything perfect. And by the time you get whatever it is perfect, you've lost the wave it came past
Yeah.
and you can't ride the wave anymore. It's like being out on your surfboard. It's like when the wave comes along, you got to ride that wave. If you're sitting trying to be perfect with your surfboard and sorting it all out and everything, you're not even out there ready to ride the wave, waiting on it coming along. Opportunities passed you by and you've never seen it because you're too
that was
busy
a big that's a
waxing
big
your
learning
boat.
curve for me. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So this is what it is. And if you're building any type of business or investment or anything like that, you will always start at zero.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you buy a business or you get involved in a business and you eventually take it over, you'll always start at zero. That's just life. That's how you start off when you pop out, isn't it? Wah, wah. It's like you're at zero, aren't you? And then you accumulate all your expertise over the years and your communication skills and your thoughts and processes as you grow up and the peer group round about you. That will have a huge influence on you later on in life. And that's why you start at zero. So it's the same sort of thing. Even in relationships, effectively, you're in business with it. If you're in a relationship with someone, and you decide to get married and stuff like that, you're in business with them because one will have to do one function, the other have to do another function, and one will have to support the other. More than likely, one will have to support the other. And I tell you what, for guys, it's a real difficult thing knowing that the girl is possibly, or their partner, I would say, because it might not be a girl, remember, and their partner is probably the one that could earn more.
Mm-hmm.
And they just can't handle that because they've not come from an environment where that's been the norm. They've always had their mother maybe in the house and their father goes out to work, that sort of scenario. And so they've always seen that and they always expect that. That's the sort of thing.
And it's because what they think, like you say, is the norm, but it isn't necessarily that. But they've grew up with that expectation.
Newsflash, that's not the norm.
No.
Who decided that? It's only because that's what you've seen. So you think that's norm, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
The norm is what you do, what you need to do at that point in time in order to get where you get.
Yeah.
This is a real good one. Most people can, this is about relationships, by the way. You learn everything on this show.
It's part of the journey, though.
Most people can cope with infidelity in a relationship. But the majority of people split up because of finances.
Money is a big part of a lot of.
Because one of the people can't control their spending, and that's why they end up breaking up. It's not because of infidelity or anything like that. Most people break up because of financial hardship, or because one's getting carried away with their finances and they're just spending money like it's going out of fashion with no coherent strategy about where they're going, and that's usually why the part company.
Yeah, because one's always a lot more financially and money orientated and sensible, and opposites attract. Well, I mean, for the most part, regardless of whether that's male, female, male. It's like there's always one that's more conscious of that than the other, and one likes to spend and one doesn't. And
well, let's talk about the building brick by brick again. Now you've got written here, and I can see it. Don't underestimate the value of small wins. Now, immediately everybody's going to go, wait a minute, Jim, you just talked about that in the previous one and says that's not what builds it. No, we talked about in the previous one about chasing quick wins.
Yes.
Not having small wins, because the small wins is what compounds to get the bigger wins. Just like the brick by brick, when you're building a house, you actually start with the concrete for the foundations, don't you? Then you put the bricks on it, brick by brick, and that's counted all the wee small wins that you're getting. And then eventually, when all these small wins are put together, you put a roof on it, and we've got a house.
It's not until you give it time to compound all these small wins that you actually realise this is actually amounting to something a lot more significant.
Yeah, it's the scenario of the the savings and the pensions and all the rest of it, and the very fact if you start off at birth and you put in 2,880, which is the minimum, which is the maximum to at the lower rate threshold to get the 3,600 topped up to. In other words, you're getting 2,880, 3,600. You're getting 720 from the government as a boost on top of that 2,880 because that's your low rate threshold. For somebody that's even born from birth, yes, if you're born, you immediately get a personal allowance.
Yeah.
From birth, from the tax person, from the tax man, tax woman, or whatever that person is. So the HMRC give you that personal allowance that's attached to you straight away from birth, and therefore you can earn up to you could put 2,880 into your pension. This is the law, and they will gross it up to 3,600 over 50 years. That is 144,000, I think. Let me get. Yep, 144,000. Yeah, 144,000. But that 144,000 is actually ends up being 180,000 because the government's topped that up by 36,000 with a tax that you've got back. Now think about it. In 50 and 40 years from now, 2,880 probably won't even buy you a cup of coffee. But that's all we're saying. Put that away. Every single time. So every single time you put 2,880 in, over these 50 years, actually 2,880 is getting less and less and less in terms of what you're earning, in terms of your income. So it's nothing at the end of the day.
It's interesting you bring that up. I got my annual statement from my Standard Life pension yesterday, and I set it up, forgot about it, just let put in it all the time. And I was actually surprised. I remember, obviously, I seen the contribution and things, and I thought, I'm going to put a wee bit more in that now, actually, because I was looking at the projection, obviously, and yeah, so I think I'll add more to that. But yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I just got it yesterday.
Absolutely, and that's where compounding wealth has. And you could be Joe Bloggs, just working a normal day-to-day job, having a great time, no brainer, just doing it. Like I used to love window cleaning when I went out with my dad because it's like, this is a no-brainer. You're cleaning the windows. There's no much to think about. There's nothing really strategically involved. We're cleaning the window. That's it. And that's what I loved about it because it was a no-brainer. It was a relaxing job, and especially in summertime, it was brilliant. Winter's a bit different because it was Baltic, but it was an easy job. And I thought somebody even in that job could put away 2,880 if they were savvy enough and we will work that out, especially based on minimum wage, because 2,880 based on minimum wage now is effectively 12%. It's not much. So 12% of your wage you're putting away, you're getting the tax back on it, and when you think about that, that could compound. Now that compounds to something like 300,000 if it's at 2% appreciation every single year, compounding over the 50 years. It goes to about 900,000 if it's at 5%, but it goes to something like 6 million if it's at 10%.
Yeah,
the same money at 10%, 6 million. Now, if you think about the Standards and Poor's index, that's actually gone up about 10% every single year, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
You can do your own homework on that. So if you're invested and you're still investing in the Standard and Poor's index and it goes up 10% every single year, you basically put 144,000 in over 50 years, which is only 12% of your income, which gets less and less of your income every single year because you earn more, because it obviously goes up in inflation when you get a wage rise. Then when you think about the logic of that, you're going to have 6 million in 50 years' time. Now, if you inflation hang at that and bring it back, you're probably going to have a lot less in real terms in today's money. But I tell you what, it's going to be a hell of a lot more than 144,000 you've got right now. But remember, the 144,000 less and less every single year, or the 2,880.
Yeah.
So that's how you build brick by brick, and you build wealth
and compound up,
compound it over time with the small wins. Could you imagine how? And this is a really good one as well, the brick by brick thing, and you build confidence and competency and clarity. So the success isn't the destination, it's the continuing journey and you do as a result of it. Imagine how you would feel right now. Now, you know who you are right now. You know how competent and confident and how what you are right now.
The capabilities, yeah.
Would you be more confident if you had £1 million in the bank right now?
Absolutely.
Everybody would, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So what changed?
You've got that feeling of that financial backing, that financial
So
safety.
why can't you still have that feeling right now, even though you've not got the £1 million in the
Without
bank?
having it. That's up here.
That's the mindset.
Yeah.
So all you need to do, and it's a real well-known phrase, it's called fake it till you make it.
Mhm.
You don't need to go around telling everybody I've got £1 million in the bank, but you have the impression that you've got £1 million. Jim Carrey wrote a check to himself for 10 million, didn't he?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And he hadn't got the 10 million, but he wrote a check to himself for 10 million. And for his job on, I'm not really sure if it was Bruce Almighty or something like that, or the Truman Show, he ended up getting paid 10 million.
Mhm.
Now, he didn't know that was going to happen, but he says, okay, this is the way I'm going to do it. I have got this. You know, if I have this, how would I act?
Yeah.
And
And if
because
you
he
have
acted like that, people go, you must be wealthy and all the rest of it. And wealth attracts wealth.
I was just going to say, when you've got that mindset and create that
Like attracts
persona,
like.
you'll attract. Yeah, definitely.
Like attracts like. If you're a really negative person and you've got 2 friends on Facebook, you're probably quite negative.
Mhm.
Unless you're just there just to voyeuristic and see what everybody else is doing.
Join group or
Maybe
whatever, yeah.
you've maybe been forced by your family to do it. But if you're actually struggling and you've not got very many friends on Facebook because nobody wants to friend you really, and every time you make a friend request to reject you, it's kind of probably because of you. You're negative.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's the reflection. And if you're like that, I doubt very much will you be extremely successful in what you're doing. And that's just the way it is. That's just my opinion.
But
Remember,
you can't change that. You just need to be open to be able to change your way of thinking.
some
And,
people are
and
so
some
closed-minded and
people
they're
are
closed
stuck in
off.
that. Yeah.
Your mind has to be like a parachute for it to work. It has to be open.
Mhm.
So that's key. So don't underestimate the challenges. It's navigating everything, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because there will be a lot of challenges, and I mean we've spoke about failures and risk and that ultimate burnout that people could give themselves, and it is part of any journey. You just need to be able to mitigate that, I suppose. Like, okay, right, I've not succeeded at this, but I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to look at the opportunity. I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm not going to push myself too far, up here all the time, so you're absolutely burnt out and not being able to perform.
That's probably what I've learned over the years is don't
Mhm.
push yourself too far. But then who am I to say what is your too
What's
far?
your threshold? Yeah.
Yeah, what's your threshold? You have to do a lot of soul searching and understanding about you in particular, about yourself. Never mind everybody else. Never mind what anybody else is doing. You have to get you right in order for you to succeed. No anybody else. It's not anybody else's responsibility for your success. It's your responsibility. They might help you and support you, but ultimately, if you don't want to do it, they can't force you. Oh, I'm going to force success
Yeah.
on you. See, man, people I've done that with. This is what you need to do. This is how you're going to do it. I want to be successful. Right. This is what you need to do. Oh, I'm not really sure if I want to do that. Well, you do that and you do it consistently, you will be successful, guaranteed. Oh, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if I want to do that.
You and I had a conversation out with this recently about, blocking out that white noise and really concentrating on yourself rather than letting
The
what's
signal.
going on around you and influence you, yeah, and hold you back, yeah.
Again, it's a Kevin O'Leary thing. It's a Steve Jobs thing, actually. He got it from
Yeah.
Steve Jobs because Kevin O'Leary worked with Steve Jobs in the early days, and he learned. He detested Steve Jobs, by the way, but he worked with him. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't need to like people to work with them, remember?
Mhm.
But Steve treated people like crap, honestly, according to him anyway. You'll hear it in Diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
But Steve actually talked about things like the signal. You need to focus on the signal. The signal is maybe the 3 and 4 tasks that you need to do today in the next 24 hours to get wherever you're going. Critical. I call it a critical path.
Yeah.
What are the things that need done now in order for something else to happen tomorrow as a result of that? Because if you don't do it now, it won't happen tomorrow, that other thing. What are the things? That's how you get there quicker. You focus on the signal. Everything else is white noise. Everything else is just noise. It just disrupts you. It just interferes with you. People phoning you up and going, what about this and what about that? And just asking you silly questions. And it's like, go away. It's like, leave me alone. Bezos talks about it as well. Bezos talks about decision making. He'll not make a decision after 1 o'clock.
Because he's not in the right. Is that because he's not in the right frame of mind as he is in the mornings? So?
You're touching on it, yeah, about there, definitely. He will not make a decision after 1 o'clock because after 1 o'clock, he's got too much noise.
Right, okay.
And he's absolutely right. This is why when somebody asks me to make a decision, I usually go, yeah, okay, I'll come back to you in a couple. Now, for a lot of people, that's like a brush off saying, I'm not interested. And they actually take it as, I'm not interested. They hear that and they don't phone you back. That's their stupidity. And I will say that because it takes 8 follow-ups to get somebody to commit.
Yeah.
Think about that. 8 times phone to commit. Now, during these 8, they might say, look, I've had enough, pissed off. And it's like, yeah, you've been told now. So that's the end of it. But for people that are undecided, it still takes 8 follow-ups to get them to even commit. That's how long it takes.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
So when you're telling somebody, just hang off. I don't make decisions on the spot anymore, and I never have for a while. And you'll notice in my diary, in the mornings, it's always planning.
Time to think about things, yeah.
Thinking and planning. That's it. Because I know the afternoon, the question that's been asked, I'll probably have the answer the next day. Because I work on it during the night when I'm sleeping, and then when I get up in the morning and I've got no noise, I've got perfect clarity.
And it just falls into place in your mind, yeah.
I'll tell you a few people that have no noise in history. Steve Jobs was one of them because he was all about signal all the time. He didn't care about anything else. Everything else fell by the wayside. Elon Musk. He's another one. He's all about signal. He is not remotely interested in anything else. Now, he gets into these wee scraps now and again with Trump and all the rest of it, but he's all about signal because he just thinks this is what I need to do now to get what I need tomorrow, and then tomorrow I need to do that to get the next day, to get the next day, to get the next day. He just wants the job done. He got sidetracked. You can see that by the government thing, and then he went, "Wait a minute, what the hell am I doing?
Chinese
like, why am I getting involved in this? It's like I'm off. It's like this is crazy." Because he thought it could, well, it did benefit him because he gets contracts from the government and everything like that. So, but you can see Trump now threatening him and stuff with we could take these contracts away. It's like, you take these contracts away, you'll find yourself in court, and you don't want to be in court because then there'll be a huge fight in the media, and that's not good for business.
Especially in his position, yeah.
This is what we talk about the journey, the risk, the failure, the burnout, and all the rest of it, and embracing all these parts, but actually being switched on and completely focused. There's no doubt about it. And in a relationship where one is extremely focused and one isn't, the one that isn't should be supporting the one that is every single time. What do you need done? There's no doubt about it. When I walk in the house and I've like been working out or something like that, Elaine just takes all my stuff, puts it in the washing, and gets it all washed and turned. And that's it. Yeah. No questions asked.
Because she knows
does everything.
That's what it's done. Yeah.
Everything. Knows straight away that that's what I'm doing. This is what I do here. This is what I do there. And everybody goes, I would never do things like that and be a slave to someone else. It's like, she just knows that's what makes the money.
Yeah. Because she,
The very fact that Elaine does all these tasks is the very fact that Elaine and I make that money.
Yeah.
For that reason. Because without her, I wouldn't be able to do that. So she is an integral part of what I do. Just like you are in the lettings, just like Andrea's as my PA, just like Perry and Sophie as in the sales, just like Susan, just like, all the team.
Everybody has a role, yeah.
Everybody's got a role to play in the success overall. And everybody should play to their part and not interfere in other people's.
parts. Yeah, just to double back what you were talking about, critical thinking and these people in history and things that have that way of thinking, that critical path of this is what needs done, let's do this. And Winston Churchill, I've watched a few things about how he done things, and that was a very critical path. He had to think about things like this needs done now, and yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of successful people that in the history, and that's how they think, and that's how they are so successful and brought things like obviously what Winston Churchill done, and then obviously like you see like Elon Musk and everything, the success that they've had because they have that critical path of thinking.
Yeah, that's it. Ultimately, it's interesting you've written here, failure is not the opposite of success. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because failure is integral to success. Failure is your biggest teacher. Failure is your quickest teacher as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because from the failures, you could learn so quick, because you learn not to do that again. Classic example about, if you stick a screwdriver, I wouldn't recommend it, everybody. A screwdriver in a socket, boom. It's like, you'll not do that again in a hurry. Yeah. You might be dead, actually. But you'll not do it in a hurry. Or if you touch I mean, I've done it when I'm like, oh, didn't bother switching the electrics off. You're putting the light bulb in and you touch the live bayonet and it's like, oh, yeah, fucker. It's like, maybe we should switch that electric off.
Yeah.
But I still like obviously try and do it without that.
Changing the fuse or wire and a plug. Don't plug it back in without the back on it.
Yeah, and these are all integral things, and failure will teach you more, but it's every part of your success. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt I wouldn't be where I was unless of the successive failures in the past. Mm-hmm. But the successive failures, to me, have been successes. So all my failures in the past have actually been a success.
Yeah, because even in my own journey as well, I think about, there's things I've not been successful at and things the first time round, but I've certainly learned from it and know how to do it a different way now than I did years ago. And it's learning for your failures, ultimately.
Yeah. So keep failing, but fail forward.
Yeah.
Just like a classic example is, somebody's doing some sort of chi course for running. I was at Glastonbury and the guy was I was organising the event for, 300, 400 people running around on the 5K run. And I was doing all the commentary and everything like that. I was talking to one of the guys and I goes, right, are you, is your knee all right and everything like that? Oh, I am an instructor. I know what I'm doing. I'm an instructor. I know what I'm doing. And I went, yeah, okay, that's fine, no bother. I'll see you around. And he was talking something about chi running, and I went, okay, what's chi running? So he was trying to tell me and give me a lesson in chi running, and I went, so what's chi running? He says, well, you just fall forward and lift your feet, and I went, okay, yeah, we've been doing that for years, that's how most runners actually do it. They just lean forward and their feet goes up and down on the spot. That's all you're doing. And because you're leaning forward, you instantly move forward anyway, and you run within your stride, so you protect all your hips and your muscles and your joints as a result of that by falling forward. That's the easiest way to run. You just fall forward and just lift your legs at the same time. Job done. But it was interesting. Because it's like I was doing the filming, right? So I was they all started off and they were all running past me, and I was doing the filming. This is quite funny, and they were running past me, and that boy ran past me, and yeah, because I was going wave at the camera, everybody. So he's waving at the camera, and the next minute he sees me, and because they went down the bottom, and I took the shortcut and ran up the hill, and I started filming up the hill, and he was going, yeah, okay, wave for the camera, everybody, and he's like, he passes again, waving for the camera. And at this point, he's probably thinking, how the hell's he up there?
How did you get there?
And then the next minute, we're down at the other stage. And then I bump into it again because I took another shortcut and I was down at the other stage. I was running like a battery hill, by the way, about 15 mile an hour to get there. And I stopped there and I go, everybody wave. And it's like they're passing again. He went, how are you managing to get there so quick? And I went, I've got a twin. I'm the twin. my twin's up on the hill there now. He's going to be coming down the minute, but I'm the twin. but from him saying, "Oh, I don't need to know anything off of you," the next minute he's going, "How are you managing?"
Yeah.
So this is a lesson in you never know who you're talking to at any point in time.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Because he's dismissed you, whereas you could have learned something. Could have learned something. Yeah.
Didn't want to learn anything off of me at all. I'm a teacher. I'm an instructor. I know what I'm doing. And the next minute he's going, "How on earth are you managing to get there?" Really, way before me.
You could have learned something. Yeah.
Because I was just like doing interval whoosh right to that point to get that. Because I was like, "There's no way." And then the next minute I ended up at the cider bus at the end, and everybody was still coming round. At the end, and I was there as well at the side. So every single point, I caught everybody else on camera coming through. So everybody must have been thinking, "God Almighty, how the hell?" But you know what I'd done? Preparation and planning. This is key as well. Embracing the journey. Preparation and planning beforehand. I walked the route the day before that they were going to be running, and then I looked for the opportunities to actually take the shortcut so I could get them at the other bits. And the key points where I was going to be able to film them coming through by the shortcuts that I was taking. And that's what had done it. It was the preparation I'd put in. It made that brought about the success.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't do preparation.
I did also laugh. I think you shared your Garmin stats on social media, and I was reading. How did you do that? I mean, what were you there 4 or 5 days? I'm like
4 or 5 days, 80 miles.
That is a lot.
I was wondering why my legs were like, oh. See, the last day I did 16.5 miles. On the last day, on the Sunday, it was like 16.5 miles. What? It's like, what? It's like, and I was wondering, obviously, when I was walking up the hill, and I was like, "Oh God, my hip and my knee and everything like that. Oh, I'm really sore. This is unusual. It shouldn't be like this." Thinking I'd only done about 5K or something, and then I'm like, "Flipping heck!" When I look back at my Garmin, it's like, no wonder, 16.5 miles. And before that, I'd obviously been doing 60 mile. But I had been doing intervals over that time as well. You know, on the Saturday, the day before, actually, the 16.5 miles, I had done a 5.5 full out interval run.
Yeah.
Round, you know, all the different places about 7 o'clock in the morning. There was no one there. Everybody was sleeping at 7, half 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It was completely deserted. I should have taken video footage and stuff like that, but I just didn't bother. But it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. But that just shows you it was the preparation that did it. So the key here is, as I'm saying it, what I'm saying out of this is, make sure you plan, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Plan to fail, yeah.
Absolutely, you do, definitely. So it's all about these, and that's about the thing about the burnout and making sure you don't. I mean, I obviously clearly burnt myself out because I was like, how was I not able to run last week? And it was because it was the week after Glastonbury, and I was just out of it completely. My whole body was like going, "Oh my God, we can't do this anymore. It's intense." But I managed to do diving, and I managed to do tubing up in Pitlochry at the weekend day. So I managed to do that as well, and I managed to get back on the treadmill on the Friday. They had just passed. I managed to get back on the treadmill. I mean, I've still been doing strength and conditioning, and I did the swim. I had to cut the swim short a bit because I wasn't feeling it a bit. And that's the first time in a long time. So my body is clearly getting to that threshold and burnout level. And but the Friday was all right. Strength and conditioning, half an hour, followed by treadmill threshold running for 4 miles, and that's 40 minutes. So 10-minute warm up, 20-minute blast, and 10-minute warm down.
But that's all about like knowing your limitations and what your capability is. And
I even went to the doctor. I was at the doctor's for blood tests, and the nurse was going. The nurse was going, "Right, we'll take your waist measurements." And I goes, "Yeah, I'm probably needing to take a couple of inches off." And she was like, "In total, oh," she was like, "No, I think you're perfect as it is." She obviously doesn't see people like this. And then she was talking about, fill out this questionnaire about, and I went BMI, and I went, "Oh, I've got my BMI." I says, "I've got it on here. I've got more equipment that they've got to measure everything. BMI, bone mass, water, water, the amount of water my body's got, and all the rest of it, and heart. And she took my blood pressure as well, and she went, "Oh my God, that's really good." That's her words. This is really good. I'll wait to take it again just in case it's
Just to
because I
make
was
sure.
wrong. And she took it again. It came up with the same sort of reading. She went, "That's really good for like your wow."
Yeah.
So
Because
I've only been to see people
I
like
mean,
that.
not that you're old, don't take this wrong, but people at your age and things, you'll probably have people that have got multiple health issues. Probably their BMI is probably out, their blood pressure's probably high or probably low or whatever. Do you know,
My
they'll never have
BMI
somebody that's got good fat.
25 and below is considered really good.
Mhm.
And I'm 23.9.
Yeah, good. But then
So
you put a lot of work into that.
yeah, I put a lot of work into it. I put a consistent effort into it, I would say.
Yeah, that consistency I think is probably a better
So
way to put it.
key consistency for me. So it's half an hour strength conditioning, followed by probably anything up from half an hour to an hour on the long runs of running, and potentially an hour of swimming, which is on the Wednesday, which instead of the run. I need to get back out on the bike, definitely. But because I'm doing strength and conditioning, I'm really strengthening my quads and everything like that. To make it better, and see the things that are going out here in the preparation and the navigation and
Yeah.
making sure I don't fail, and the long term thinking I put into this.
Well, that's what I was going
The
to say, but
ultimate goal.
we'll round up talking about that because you touched on it earlier, and I didn't want you to elaborate too much because I thought we'll talk about it at the end. But the long-term thinking and planning of things is so crucial to any like your business and your entire journey. You don't think about what's going to happen. Do you know your 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? What does that look like? How are you going to get there?
How are you going to get there? Who's going to help you get there? You never know where it's going to happen. You just have to make sure you're prepared for it when it
Plan.
happens.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that's been lucky. Well, that's been preparation. Luck. Labour under correct knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Luck.
And it's about the long-term planning and thinking. It's about making decisions based on what your vision is, rather than having that reactive to your emotions and things. That reactive response. You're actually basing things on what your vision and your end goal is.
Yeah, which is ultimately, and I don't think I've told anybody publicly, but I really do want to run an ultra marathon on Everest next May.
We spoke about that a few weeks ago, so I know that.
42-mile.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, even with sometimes with my knee after Glastonbury, I'm thinking, God, will I be able to do that? It's like flipping heck. It's like I can get 4 or 5 mile, I can get 10, I can get half marathon. I could probably get a lot more, to be honest. And I just consistently training. And I think, yeah, you can do it, Jim. Don't be daft. Because it's like you're in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. You've got 10 months.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I've got? Because I know how you apply yourself to these kind of things, how you're like, if you've got a goal in mind, you'll train and you'll be consistent with that. I'm quite confident you'll be able to do it. Yeah, with the right plan.
Well, we'll see. We'll see, because in between there, and I've still no committed to it, is the Kilimanjaro in December, in the early December, and Aconcagua, which is the highest peak, just about a 7,000 meter peak almost in Argentina. So they're two of the 7 summits, the highest in the world.
Right.
So these are the 2 I should really go and do this year in order to prepare myself. So I think that's on the cards. So and Aconcagua, unfortunately, is in between Christmas and New Year, after New Year. So basically, I'll be in Argentina possibly at that time, for that reason. I've already discussed it. I'll possibly be away. So we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. We'll see what happens.
This is all part of your long-term thinking and planning.
I have no idea why I'm doing it. I'm just doing it
what
because
you
it's
want to
there.
achieve. But yeah, for achievement, personal achievement, I think it's quite a good thing to do.
Where do you stop? It's like, if I've got another 60 years, because the goal is to live to 120, and I'm out 58, 59 this year, and I've got another 60 year, which is basically, I'm only halfway there if that's the case, then oh my God, it's like, where do you go from that? Do you just keep training for the next 60 years and just keep yourself fit all the time and make sure your VO2 is right, make sure your body mass index is right, make sure you've got the right nutrition and everything works, and you've got the right blood pressure every day, you're in perfect blood pressure, perfect cholesterol, perfect uric acid, all the rest of it, and glucose level, and completely balanced every single time, to see if you can actually attain that. That's the ultimate goal, to see if I can actually do it. That's it. I think that is the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ultimate goal is primarily, can I live to 120, and what do I need to do now to do that?
Yeah, and that's definitely long-term planning.
That's where it is. That's what I'm thinking about. That's why I'm drinking this green juice.
And these examples, and obviously your personal, like they're your personal goals, things, they're totally relatable to your business. And you know, we'll talk about property investment for the purpose of the exercise. You know, that compounding effect over time. What kind of size of portfolio do you want to have in 5 years, 10 years time? How are you going to get there? How long is it going to take maybe your initial investments, if you've got 1, 2 property, to compound up to enable you to then reinvest and build on that? I mean, Jim, you had quite an audacious goal that you wanted to reach with your property portfolio. And although it was extremely high and you've not reached that,
delusional.
but it was able to
It was
propel you
completely
forward.
delusional.
but it propelled you forward to where you are now, because you had that.
All right, but I tell you what, it was completely delusional about the goal that I had when I look back on it now. But at the time, I was completely like, I could do that. Spreadsheet says I can do it.
Confident.
And even though I didn't get there, even though I didn't reach the stars, I caught the moon on the way down.
And because you had confidence.
And that's got to be better than doing nothing at all. So until next time, keep investing in yourself and your vision. That's probably where we should end.
Yeah, definitely embrace that journey, and like you say, Jim, invest in yourself and keep that vision clear. And we'll wrap up today. That was really good. Thanks for sharing all your insights, Jim, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next Monday at 12:30 as usual.
Bye for now.
See you later.